Hold on. Wait. I know you read that title, but here's why I think an American remake of Death Note could be awesome.
And now, a conversation piece. This is The Rundown.
Welcome everybody to another exciting episode here at The Rundown on A Week in Geekdom. Now, I know what you're thinking. This guy's crazy. Movies based on anime series or manga series are destined to fail. They're horrible. We've seen it already. Yes, I know that what we've gotten so far has not been that great. However, I think the more, and here's in a nutshell, and I'll go into it in a little bit. In a nutshell, I think the farther or the closer Hollywood gets to modern anime of darker themes or less shonen-y stuff, the more or the better the movies will actually turn out to be. I'm sorry, but I just think shonen mangas like your Dragon Ball Z's or your Naruto, One Piece, whatever, they're so ridiculous and just such a hyperbole of a franchise that I think it's too big, too convoluted to translate well into a 2-hour, hour and a half movie. So, with that said, don't get me wrong, all these shonens are great. I love anime and I love manga. However, Death Note is the exception. I never really felt why it was published under Shonen Jump when it's so different than anything else that was happening at that time when it was released. I think the proper way to do it, and I think that's what they're doing. They announced it a couple years ago, and not a lot of people took it seriously enough. They announced the movie was coming, and I remember people were going, that's never gonna happen, whatever. But it is happening, folks. After breakout performances in The Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns, if I'm reading it right, Nat Wolff is supposedly in the running, or will be, starring in the Death Note remake. Now, the movie is the series is so Japanese that I was wondering what route they were going to go with. And obviously they took the better one, which is to just make a localized version in North America. Same as I would have done with Ghost in the Shell, which is also getting a movie adaptation with Scarlett Johansson. I know a lot of people are upset. I am too. But let's face it, with that series and Ghost in the Shell and the use of alternate bodies with transferring data, brainwaves and souls and whatever, you could easily say Motoko has said body of Scarlett Johansson. With this, I fear it's something similar where instead of Light Yagami being in Japan, we're just going to get the Americanized version set in North America. That's perfectly fine, because let's face it, the Death Gods or the Shinigamis, they're not going to specifically aim for Japan. Let's just say this is an alternate take, as I'm used to with comic books. I don't know if you are into comic books or not, but I'm used to the idea of a parallel universe and alternate realities and all that stuff. So let's just, for a minute, imagine that Ryuk, the famous Shinigami, drops his notebook in North America. Now, I think that could be pretty awesome, especially with today's times and everybody being so overly sensitive about stuff. I'd imagine having a movie about killing people in such a way and starring such a young actor will probably grab some headlines, who knows? So with today's topics of terrorism and school shootings and gun violence and all that crazy stuff that's happening in the world, I think the movie will be a strange addition to cinemas, in my opinion. Now, first, I want to tackle the subject of Nat Wolff. I think, and let's be honest, we're just going with a new protagonist, but Nat Wolff sort of has the light thing going for him, especially with the hairdo and the overall physique. So, it looks like they're trying to capture the essence of what light looks like and make him, as an American teenager or just entering university or whatever, college. Obviously, with an American production, you're gonna get amazing effects, whether that be makeup or just straight up CGI stuff. I think Ryuk is gonna look beautiful on screen, and his ugliness is gonna be astounding to people, and I can't wait to see that. And I'm curious to see characters like Misa, like L, Nier, and Mello. So it's gonna be interesting. Are they straight up gonna do chapter per chapter as in the manga and the anime series, or is it just a remake of the live action Japanese movies? Because let's face it, those movies kind of suck. I'm sorry, but the effects are way too and it's a little bit too it's like they're trying too hard to imitate something, and I'm a fan of just taking something and adapting it your own way. I'm in the minority here, I know it, whatever, but I think the movie could work simply because it is a darker theme. It's not your yes, I know, Dragon Ball Evolution is a horrible example, but with that crappy movie, you have to face facts. It's adapting something that to me is so unadaptable to a mainstream audience in like an hour and a half. I know it can be done, I know, don't worry, but it's so grandiose and so silly in a good way that it just failed completely at every single level. So although with Death Note it is a darker, grittier theme, and let's face it, we're in this weird Hollywood phase where everything is shot super dark, the themes are so dark, and just the quality of cinema is moving towards that grittier, grimmer tonality, in my opinion. So I think it will do well with the setting of Death Note. It's not a funny series. It's dramatic. It's dark. It's suspenseful. It's horror in some way. So I'm really interested to seeing how they do that, especially with, well, obviously you just get a notebook and write the friggin' name on it. But, yeah, it'd be funny if they changed the language of the actual notebook, because fans will get it, what I mean by that. But I think we should be okay with this. Why? Here's my second point. Warner Brothers is doing this, and they are involved with the original production, because, correct me if I'm wrong, the original movies were made in association or with Warner Brothers of Japan. So I think Warner Brothers does a good job with their movies, unlike Fox, which has a horrible track record of adapting shit. Let's face it, just go ahead and look at the X-Men movies, where like 2 of them are only the best ones, and yeah, and with the recent Craptastic 4 movie. So I think it's in good hands. I don't know. And not much else. There is a screenplay involved, and let me pull it up here. Roy Lee, Dan Lin, Jason Hoffs, and Masi Oka are producing the project, which was previously adapted as a movie in its home country of Japan, where it spawned a sequel. I believe they're making a TV series out of Death Note again. And it's just awesome. I think it's a great idea, because since the 60s and 70s, and since the 60s all the way up to the early 2000s, most of the anime that made a huge impact, I wouldn't necessarily want to adapt them on screen, because they're so big, they're so intricately Japanese in the way they're formed. Stuff like Dragon Ball, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Evangelion, all these projects, they've all been rumored because they, at one point or another, they were making live action movies. I think you should pick out stuff that's closer to our modern times with newer techniques in storytelling. I guess you could say you should go with darker themes or more realistic anime, not something so huge. You know, I know they picked up the license for Naruto to make a live action movie. I'm really against it, because I think it's way too big of a project for a live action movie. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Write down below in the comments, like this video, and why you think this movie will bomb or this movie will be awesome. I do say it'll be awesome, but you gotta think for a second, and I gotta do so as well. What if this movie is the most horrible piece of crap ever? It could go horribly wrong. But then again, the theme of Death Note is not that intricately Japanese. And I'm saying intricately a lot these days, it's more ingrained with society's viewpoint on crime, on the government and how they protect its citizens, about good people, about you can even stem this into rich people versus poor people, and the way the middle class is non-existent these days in most parts of the earth, in developed nations. You could go into talking about religion, life after death. You could talk about so many interesting things in this compared to other fantastical shows. And I'm not downgrading other shows. I think they're just as good. But Death Note is a special one because it really brought that American American and European sensibility of darker themes into something that's supposed to be a young kids magazine issues for Shonen Jump in Japan a couple years ago. So I think it's one of those perfect shows where you can't take liberties with it, and I don't think you'll disrupt the flow of everything. Light, you could switch them around to any nationality, where you could have this ace student have these great great god complex and wanting to become Kira, if you will, wanting to rid the world of evil, even if you have to dirty yourself and become evil itself to make the world a better place. So, I don't know, I think people kind of overreacted. We should wait a little while and see where it goes. I pray we get a Death Note adaptation, because that would be something cool. I know Hollywood is full of remakes, reboots, sequels, and prequels, but I think it's an untouched land. Same with video game movies. I think anime movies could use something like this to get it started, to get that next revolution. Because yes, we have superheroes on screen, but I think it's about time we explored the genius of Japanese storytelling in manga and anime. So that's my 2 cents about it. I may be wrong, who knows. Obviously, once we get more info on this, we'll keep you guys updated on what happens with the Death Note adaptation for Hollywood. So there you go. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Vine. You can like and subscribe to our videos here on YouTube. That's very important. Tell us what you think. Just write down below. You can also view us on Periscope. That's periscope.tv/aweekingeekdom, or you can download the app on iOS or Android, and you can watch us at random times talk about hauled videos. We do drawing sketch sessions and just talking and about the current subjects of life. I don't know. It's fun. You should do it. Check us out on Periscope. If not, your favorite social media, or here on YouTube. I've been your host, Giovanni Menendez. Thank you for tuning in to another rundown, and I will see all of you at later times.
Thank you for tuning in to another installment. You can keep the conversation going through your favorite social media platform. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on Twitter, like our fan page on Facebook, and favorite our pics on Instagram. You can also write to us for feedback, suggestions, and such via aweekingeekdom@gmail.com. Until next time,